Dr. Ilara Voss adjusted her helmet and peered down at the vibrant landscape of Virelia from the landing pod. The planet below was alive with colors she had never seen before. Forests of glowing blue leaves, rivers that shimmered like liquid crystal, and mountains that rose like jagged emerald towers into a violet sky. She exhaled slowly. This was why she had chosen this assignment, not for fame, not for recognition, but for discovery. The pod touched down gently in a clearing near a crater. Ilara stepped out carefully, boots sinking slightly into the soft, moss-like ground. Her scanner beeped softly as she began her routine sweep for signs of life. So far, so peaceful, she murmured, recording data into her wrist console. The silence, however, did not last. A sudden rustling from the nearby trees made her freeze. She turned slowly, scanning with her handheld detector. Then, she saw it. A figure was lying in the open, half hidden behind a cluster of glowing shrubs. It was tall, taller than any human by far, with limbs that seemed both strong and graceful. Armor covered its body, scratched and dented, evidence of a recent fight. A long, curved weapon rested nearby, untouched. Ilara's heart raced. She had read about alien species, studied their anatomies from scans and holographic reports, but seeing one in person was different. It was both terrifying and mesmerizing. She took a cautious step forward. "Hello?" she called softly, keeping her hands visible. The alien stirred slightly, lifting its head. Its eyes were large, glinting with a sharp intelligence. It fixed her with a gaze that seemed to pierce through her very being. Then it spoke, in a tone that vibrated strangely in the air. "Stay back, human." Ilara froze. Her pulse quickened, but her training kicked in. She had to assess the situation carefully. The alien was injured. It had a deep gash on its shoulder, and its breathing was heavy. Despite its warning, Ilara knew that leaving it alone could mean death for the creature. "I'm not going to hurt you," she said gently, kneeling a few steps away. "I can help. Please." The alien's eyes narrowed, studying her, as if trying to read her intentions. The muscles along its jaw tensed, but it didn't attack. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, it shifted slightly to allow her closer. Ilara kept her movements slow and deliberate. She pulled out her medkit, opening it carefully. "I just need to clean the wound," she explained. "Nothing else." The alien tilted its head, a gesture that Ilara took as a cautious agreement. "Do not touch my weapon," it warned. "I won't," she promised. She approached, scanning the injury. The gash was deep but clean. It had likely been caused by a sharp claw or a small predator. Using her antiseptic gel and bandages, she began to clean the wound. The alien winced but didn't move away. "Why are you here?" Ilara asked softly, more to keep the creature calm than to seek information. The alien's voice was low and melodic, each word deliberate. "I was defending my kin. The forest is dangerous. More dangerous than you know." "I may." Ilara nodded slowly. She could understand that. Even on Earth, she had seen how quickly an ecosystem could become deadly for the unprepared. Here, on Virelia, danger seemed to exist in every shadow. She worked carefully, making sure every movement was precise. As she applied the bandages, she noticed something remarkable. The alien's skin, beneath the armor, shimmered faintly, like liquid metal in the sunlight. She made a mental note to study this further. "You humans are fragile," the alien said, almost as if reading her thoughts. "Yet, you are not afraid." "There. You are not afraid." Ilara smiled faintly. "Courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about acting, even when you are." The alien's eyes softened slightly, though wariness remained. "I have not seen many like you." Ilara continued working, talking quietly to keep it calm. She described her own journey to Virelia, the mission, and her hopes to understand the planet. She did not mention the other members of her team, as she did not want the alien to feel trapped. Hours seemed to pass in this careful rhythm. Alara cleaned, dressed, and monitored the injury, while the alien sat as still as it could, only occasionally speaking. Gradually, the tension in the air began to ease. Finally, she stepped back. All done. You'll heal faster now. Try to rest. The alien studied her for a long moment. Then, slowly, it nodded. You are different. I like to think humans are capable of more than they seem, she replied. The alien did not respond immediately. It seemed to contemplate her words, its glowing eyes reflecting the strange sunlight of Virelia. Then it spoke again. Perhaps there is hope. Alara realized that the alien was not just cautious, it was alone, hurt, and unsure if it could trust anyone. She had always believed that humans' ability to empathize was one of their greatest strengths. Now, here, on this alien world, she had a chance to prove it. Night fell quickly. Virelia's sky shifted to deep purples and blues, with 3 moons casting soft light across the clearing. Fireflies or something like them glimmered among the plants. Alara prepared a small, secure shelter nearby, careful to keep it non-threatening. She placed supplies and water where the alien could reach them, without moving too close. The alien, Kalith, observed silently. Why do you help me? It asked finally, voice quieter now. Because I can, she answered simply. And because I believe all life has value. Kalith's eyes lingered on her, and Alara thought she saw something almost like admiration. Slowly, it lowered itself to rest, still in the clearing but no longer tense. For the first time since she had arrived, Alara felt a spark of hope. As she watched the alien rest, she took out her journal and began recording her observations. Posture, skin, breathing patterns, and even the subtle expressions of emotion. Every detail was a potential breakthrough for human understanding of alien life. Later, as she checked her equipment, a soft sound caught her attention. Kalith was humming a low, steady tone that seemed almost like a lullaby. It was a sound of calm, not warning. Alara smiled. Small signs, she thought, were important. Every gesture mattered. Trust was fragile, especially between species that had never met. The night was quiet, filled with the soft sounds of Virelia's creatures. Somewhere in the distance, a luminous bird-like creature flew across the sky. Alara thought of Earth and how different yet similar life could be in the universe. She realized that first contact wasn't always about grand gestures or epic battles. Sometimes, it was about small acts of care, courage, and connection. As she prepared to rest, she spoke softly toward the alien. Tomorrow, we'll start observing your environment. I promise to be careful, and I won't do anything you don't want. Kalith did not answer, but it did not protest. That, Alara decided, was enough for now. The stars of Virelia twinkled above, and for the first time since her arrival, she felt the true thrill of discovery. Humanity was capable of more than exploration and conquest. It could build trust, bridge differences, and find kinship in the most unexpected places. Alara closed her eyes, letting sleep come. In the morning, the real work would begin. Learning from Kalith, understanding her species, and perhaps discovering a way to show that humans could be allies, not threats, in this vast and beautiful galaxy. And somewhere in the clearing, Kalith watched the sleeping human, her gaze lingering with curiosity and perhaps a hint of cautious hope. The morning light of Virelia painted the forest in soft purples and golds. Dr. Alara Voss awoke in her small shelter, her mind buzzing with plans. Today would be the first day of careful observation, study, and, most importantly, learning to communicate more deeply with Kalith. She stepped out of the shelter, adjusting her scanner to track local life forms, and looked across the clearing. Kalith was already awake, sitting upright, its armor reflecting the morning light. The alien's movements were deliberate, each step careful, yet there was a fluid grace to its posture. Elara felt a mixture of awe and excitement. This was not just a discovery. This was a chance to understand a life form unlike any other in human history. "Good morning," she said softly, keeping her hands visible and her movements slow. Calith's head tilted. Its large eyes studied her, as if weighing her words. "You survived the night," it said, voice low and musical. "I did not expect that," Elara smiled. "Humans are resilient and careful. I promised not to do anything to harm you." Calith seemed to consider this. Then, after a long pause, it rose and walked toward a small stream nearby. Water ran over smooth stones, glinting in the early light. Elara followed at a safe distance, curious to see what Calith would do. The alien knelt at the water's edge, carefully drinking. Its movements were precise, efficient, almost ritualistic. Elara pulled out her notebook and recorded every detail. Its posture, the way its fingers dipped into the water, the way the muscles along its back flexed. There was something elegant in its motion, something that humans could study and perhaps learn from. "You are cautious," Elara remarked gently, "but not afraid of me anymore." Calith looked at her. Its eyes held a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. "Fear is not always useful," it said. "Caution is better." Elara nodded. "I agree. That's why I take things slowly. We can learn a lot from each other if we are patient." Calith's eyes softened slightly. It turned back to the water, observing it as though it were trying to read the patterns within. Elara realized that this was more than just a creature drinking. It was studying, analyzing, trying to understand the world around it. "May I?" she asked, holding out a small sample container. "I want to take water back to the lab for analysis." Calith paused, then nodded. "Do not disturb." Elara carefully collected a small amount of water, noting its properties and making mental observations about the stream. She noticed how the flow seemed to change slightly depending on the plants around it. Even on a planet so different from Earth, patterns existed, patterns that both humans and aliens could recognize. After a while, Calith rose and motioned toward the forest. Elara understood this as an invitation to follow. She kept a respectful distance as they walked along a winding path, the alien moving with an almost supernatural awareness of its surroundings. Every step was calculated. Every glance seemed to scan the environment for danger. As they moved deeper into the forest, Elara noticed small signs of life she had not expected. Tiny glowing insects, plants that shifted when approached, and trees that seemed to hum with faint energy. She carefully recorded everything, realizing that Calith's presence allowed her to see the planet in ways she could not have alone. Eventually, Calith stopped at a clearing, where several other figures lay hidden, partially camouflaged among the trees. They were similar in form to Calith, but smaller, younger, or less armored. One of them made a small, cautious sound and retreated slightly behind the others. "These are your kin?" Elara asked softly, not wanting to startle them. Calith nodded. "Family. They were hiding from predators." Elara crouched at a respectful distance. She had studied alien behavior extensively, and she knew the importance of non-threatening postures. Slowly, she opened her kit and set down small, nutrient-rich packs of food. The younger aliens hesitated but eventually approached, encouraged by Calith's calm presence. Elara observed closely, noting the social structure, communication patterns, and subtle signals Calith used to coordinate the group. Even though the language was mostly unknown to her, she could see the meaning in gestures, tones, and posture. "You humans are strange," Calith said after a long moment, glancing at her. "You build machines, yet you show care and patience. That is unusual." Elara chuckled softly. "Humans are capable of many things. Sometimes strength is in understanding, not fighting." Calith tilted its head, a gesture that seemed almost like curiosity. "Perhaps strength is not always in power. You may be right." They spent the day moving through the forest, with Elara carefully observing, recording, and learning. Calith gradually allowed her closer to the group, and she noticed how the alien's trust grew as she consistently acted without threat. She even saw Kalith teaching the younger aliens simple survival tactics. How to sense danger, how to use the environment to hide, and how to navigate efficiently. Alara realized that humans could learn from this species as well. Their awareness of surroundings, their communication without words, and their ability to work together in perfect coordination was impressive. In that moment, she felt proud not just as a scientist but as a representative of humanity. Humans had the capacity to inspire trust, build alliances, and connect across even the most profound differences. By late afternoon, they returned to the clearing where Alara's shelter stood. Kalith motioned toward the supplies she had left for the injured alien. It studied them carefully, and then looked at her. "You provide much," Kalith said, voice quiet. "Why?" Alara thought for a moment. "Because I can," she said simply. "And because I want to understand. Understanding starts with trust." Kalith regarded her silently. Slowly, it nodded. There was an acknowledgement in that gesture, a recognition that humans could be allies, not enemies. As evening approached, the forest seemed to glow with a soft bioluminescence. Alara sat by the stream, taking notes and sketching observations, while Kalith sat nearby, watching quietly. For the first time, there was no tension, only mutual observation. Alara spoke softly. "Tomorrow, I want to learn more about how you hunt and forage. We can work together safely. You will guide me, and I will observe. Will you allow that?" Kalith's eyes held hers for a long moment. Then, it spoke. "If you respect the ways, and do not interfere, yes, I will teach you." Alara's heart swelled with excitement. This was more than she could have hoped for. She would not only study an alien species, she would become part of a small, tentative bridge between their world and humanity. The night fell slowly, and the 3 moons of Verelia cast silver shadows across the clearing. Alara lay down in her shelter, her mind racing with possibilities. Kalith was nearby, seemingly asleep but always alert. The alien had allowed her into its world, into its trust, and that trust was fragile. She knew she had to be careful, consistent, and respectful. Sleep came slowly. Her dreams were filled with visions of glowing forests, alien wildlife, and the faces of Kalith and its kin. She imagined a future where humans and this alien species could work together, learn from one another, and face the challenges of the galaxy as allies. Morning arrived again, bright and warm. Alara emerged from her shelter, prepared for another day of observation and learning. Kalith was already waiting, standing near the stream. "You are ready," Kalith said simply. Alara smiled. "I am ready to learn." For hours, they explored the forest together. Kalith demonstrated the ways of the land, how to read subtle movements in the plants, how to anticipate the behavior of local creatures, and how to move silently through the terrain. Alara followed closely, recording every detail. At one point, Kalith stopped abruptly. It raised a hand, signaling her to remain still. She froze, heart pounding, as a large, brightly colored bird-like creature swooped overhead, barely missing their heads. Kalith's eyes tracked it with precision, and it whispered a soft warning in its melodic language. Alara realized that humans, though intelligent, often relied on tools and weapons to survive. Kalith and its kin relied on awareness, observation, and quick adaptation. Yet, she also understood that human creativity and problem-solving could complement these abilities perfectly. Together, they could achieve much more than either could alone. As the day ended, Kalith led her back to the clearing. "You are persistent. You observe carefully. That is good," Alara nodded. "I want to understand, not just study. I want to help, if I can." Kalith's eyes softened. "Perhaps humans have more to offer than I thought." That night, as the moons rose and the forest glowed in the soft light, Alara realized something profound. Humanity's strength was not in domination, not in force, but in curiosity, empathy, and the ability to build trust. She had bridged the first gap between her species and Calith's, and though the road ahead would be long and full of unknowns, she knew that this partnership could change everything. The morning on Varelia was calm, but Dr. Ilara Voss knew the forest could change in an instant. She had learned to read the subtle signs in the leaves, the slight tremors in the ground, and the whispers of the wind. Today, Calith had something new in mind, a challenge that would test both their skills and the trust between species. "Ilara," Calith said, its voice soft but commanding. "Today you will learn how we hunt and gather. You must follow carefully and trust nothing you see at first glance." Ilara nodded. She adjusted her equipment, carefully securing her supplies in a lightweight pack. Her heart raced, not from fear, but from excitement. She had seen enough of Calith's abilities to know that the alien's world was full of surprises, each one a lesson in awareness, adaptability, and patience. They moved through the forest, Calith leading with fluid, precise movements. Ilara followed, paying close attention to the alien's gestures and signals. At first, she struggled to match the subtle movements, the silent steps, the way Calith seemed to glide almost without sound. But gradually, she began to sense the rhythm of the forest. Hours passed, and Ilara learned more than she had anticipated. Calith showed her how to sense creatures before they appeared, how to read the patterns in the glowing plants, and how to use the natural environment to move safely. She marveled at the alien's efficiency, realizing that Calith's species had mastered survival in ways humans could only dream of. As the sun reached its highest point, a sudden shift in the forest's energy caught their attention. The ground trembled slightly, and the glowing leaves of nearby trees shimmered nervously. Calith froze, raising a hand in warning. Ilara's pulse quickened. She crouched low, scanning the area. From the shadows emerged a pack of large, translucent predators, creatures she had only seen in her field notes, but never encountered in person. Their bodies shimmered like liquid crystal, and their eyes glowed faintly in the light. Calith whispered, "Do not panic. Follow my lead. But stay alert." Ilara took a deep breath and focused. She remembered everything Calith had taught her. Watch carefully. Move subtly. Anticipate behavior. She mirrored the alien's movements, crouching, pausing, and observing each predator as they moved closer. Calith led the way, signaling with small gestures to direct Ilara's attention. Together, they navigated the clearing, avoiding direct contact with the predators. Ilara realized how much she relied on human intuition combined with Calith's knowledge of the forest. Her heart swelled with pride. Humans could be clever, observant, and adaptable in ways that complemented even the most advanced alien senses. Eventually, the predators lost interest and retreated, slinking silently back into the shadows. Ilara exhaled slowly, feeling a mixture of relief and exhilaration. Calith nodded approvingly. "You adapt quickly," Calith said. "Humans are resourceful." Ilara smiled. "We survive in many ways. Learning from you is a privilege." Calith's eyes softened. There was no judgment, only recognition. "You are unusual. Perhaps stronger than we thought." After the encounter, Calith led Ilara to a hidden grove where the younger aliens were waiting. They were practicing the skills Calith had taught them earlier, moving with precision and coordination. Ilara observed, impressed by their discipline and intelligence. "You humans work differently," Calith said quietly. "You do not rely on instincts alone. You think, improvise, create solutions quickly." Ilara nodded. "That is how we survive. We use tools, knowledge, and teamwork. We learn from mistakes." Calith tilted its head, studying her. "Perhaps this is why you are different. You are not only strong in body but in mind." The rest of the day was spent in mutual learning. Calith taught Ilara more about the forest, its creatures, and the unique energy patterns that flowed through the land. In return, Ilara shared simple human techniques, how to make lightweight traps for collecting food, ways to preserve water efficiently, and strategies for coordinating movement silently as a group. The younger aliens observed eagerly, fascinated by the humans' ingenuity. Even Kalith seemed impressed, watching how quickly Ilara adapted and applied her knowledge. It became clear that humanity's creativity, combined with the aliens' survival skills, created a partnership neither species could have achieved alone. As evening approached, a soft glow filled the forest. Ilara and Kalith sat by the stream, reviewing the day's lessons. "You are patient," Kalith said finally. "You teach without forcing. That is rare." Ilara smiled. "We learn best when trust exists. You taught me that yesterday. Today, I hope I have shown you the same." Far, Kalith studied her in silence for a moment. Then it spoke with a quiet certainty. "Perhaps humans are not only capable of learning but of teaching as well. That is admirable." Night fell, and the 3 moons of Virelia cast silver shadows across the clearing. Ilara prepared her shelter while Kalith and the younger aliens rested nearby. She reflected on the days she had spent here. Humanity had the ability to survive, adapt, and inspire trust, even across the vast distances between species. Suddenly, a distant rumble echoed through the forest. Ilara's sensors detected movement far beyond the immediate area. Kalith rose immediately, eyes sharp. "Storm approaching," Kalith said. "We must move the younger ones, quickly." Ilara nodded, ready to help. Together, they guided the younger aliens toward a sheltered canyon. She improvised simple barriers using fallen branches and vines to protect them from the approaching storm. Kalith worked alongside her, coordinating movement and ensuring no one was left behind. The storm hit with sudden intensity, heavy winds, torrential rain, and flashes of strange, colored lightning. But, through careful planning, human ingenuity, and alien coordination, the group remained safe. Ilara marveled at Kalith's ability to anticipate the storm's shifts. But she also realized how valuable human problem-solving had been. The barriers she improvised slowed water flow, and the paths she created allowed the group to move faster. Hours later, the storm subsided. The group emerged from their temporary shelter, wet but unharmed. Kalith turned to Ilara, eyes reflecting both relief and respect. "You saved them," Kalith said softly. "You humans are remarkable." Ilara smiled, though tired. "We did it together. You guided me. I followed. That's how trust works." Kalith regarded her silently, then nodded. "Perhaps humans have more to offer than I imagined. Not in strength, but in heart, in mind, in courage." That night, as the group settled back into the clearing, Kalith shared fragments of its people's history. Ilara listened carefully, fascinated by their stories of survival, cooperation, and adaptation across harsh worlds. She realized that the lessons of humanity, teamwork, empathy, creativity were not so different from the lessons Kalith's species had learned over millennia. Ilara felt a deep sense of pride. Humans could not only explore the stars but also inspire hope, build alliances, and create unity where none existed before. She realized that humanity's greatest strength was not weapons or technology but the ability to connect, to learn, and to act with compassion. As the moons rose, casting soft light across the forest, Kalith approached her. Its eyes held a mixture of admiration and something else, a cautious optimism. "You are different from others I have seen," Kalith said. "Perhaps, together, we can survive, thrive, even in this vast, dangerous galaxy." Ilara nodded. "That's exactly what I hope. Together, we can face the unknown, learn from it, and grow stronger." The younger aliens watched quietly, sensing the bond forming between their protector and the human. Even in their silence, they understood the significance. 2 species, separated by light years and biology, were finding a way to work together. Over the following days, Alara continued to study, observe, and learn. She documented every detail of Calith's world: the forest patterns, the creatures, the energy flows, and the social dynamics of the alien group. In turn, she shared more human strategies, simple tools, observation techniques, and ways to plan ahead for challenges. The forest became a classroom, a laboratory, and a bridge between species. Calith allowed her ever closer, the initial wariness replaced by a growing trust. Alara noticed subtle signs of respect in the alien's gestures. A slight nod before teaching, a pause to let her lead in small ways, and the sharing of knowledge without hesitation. One evening, as the group rested by the stream, Alara looked at Calith and said softly, "I think we've learned something important, not just about the forest, but about each other. Humans have a way of connecting, and you've taught me how to truly observe and respect another world." Calith's eyes softened. "And you have shown that humans are more than we thought. Not just clever, not just strong, but capable of trust, courage, and understanding. That is valuable." The stars of Virelia twinkled above, and for the first time, Alara felt that humanity's presence in the galaxy could mean more than exploration. It could mean connection, hope, and unity. Through small acts of care, courage, and creativity, humans could inspire trust, even among species that had never encountered them before. Calith's final words that night carried weight, not just for Alara but for the future of their relationship. Perhaps humans are not merely visitors in the galaxy. Perhaps you are allies and friends. Alara smiled, knowing that the journey was only beginning. The lessons of this forest, these creatures, and this remarkable alien warrior would stay with her forever. And somewhere deep in the clearing, as the moons cast their silver light, Calith watched her with the quiet understanding that humans, despite their fragility, had something extraordinary to offer the universe. In that moment, the future of interspecies friendship and cooperation seemed possible. Humanity had proven, once again, that courage, creativity, and compassion could overcome fear, difference, and the unknown. And on Virelia, under the glow of alien moons, a bridge between worlds had begun to form, one small step, one act of trust, one shared moment at a time.